Okay, we will restart the meeting. Item 16, MyCouncil Request Management Closeout Summary. Welcome, Dana.
Hi. Yep.
So would you like to say a few words before we
Ask some questions? Yep, sure thing. This is a pretty exciting project for us to have completed. It was our first big transformation project, and it's also been about improving something that is bread and butter to council, which is request for service. The project has really been focused on delivering three key objectives. One is re-engineering the request for service processes so that there's greater visibility of jobs across the system and processes that they go through. We have better reporting in place. We've got more accurate assigning of jobs so they go to the right place at the right time, and also giving our citizens the opportunity to request and pay online. The second objective has been around re-engineering our feedback processes, so they're simpler, and for the first time we have our feedback centralised in one system. And the third one, which I think is putting council in a fairly strong position to really move to delivering more online services, has been getting the foundational technology in place so that we can offer more services online to our citizens. So at the moment we offer a range of simple forms, but this is about moving us towards being able to do consents online, registrations online, having an account with council. So we now have the technology in place to look at that. So I'll open up the floor to questions.
Well, look, I mean, that sounds fabulous, and there's no doubt there's a great deal of interest from councillors, and it's something everyone's quite excited about, improving the way we engage with our citizens.
Yeah.
I guess two things really. One, we seem to have had a lot of issues with this hybris system in terms of data being reported through, and we've seen that over the last 3 months. So that's a question that I know will need answering. But in terms of the closeout report, when you come to 6.0 project final status summary on page 484, when it comes to the benefits, it's red. The project did not fully meet the benefits as business teams are still adjusting to new ways of working.
Yep.
A process to realise and agree organisational financial benefits will occur 12 months from go live of the project, October 2019. Okay, but there's no explanation as to why it didn't meet benefits, what those benefits should be. So it's kind of, I'd expect in a closeout report to see all those lessons learned. That's really why we have those reports in the first place. So exciting project. We're all really keen to get more of this stuff, more data, more dashboards, easier ways for people to interact with the council. But there's clearly a couple of things here that haven't quite worked. So I imagine we'll be quite interested to know why and what's going to happen.
Perhaps I'll comment initially on the benefits realisation or validation. That work is currently underway. So the benefits we're looking at, obviously process efficiency, so how can we do our interactions more effectively, as well as the citizen experience, so that was providing an online service, choice of channel for our customers, as well as making it easier for them to interact with us, no matter how they choose to do that. And then, of course, it was around better technology. So risk mitigation and the fact that we had WorkSmart, which was redundant and no longer supported technology. So there are a range of things underway to realise those benefits. If I could talk about process efficiency first, you'll recall that in my level of service reporting, we're talking about reviewing our processes, particularly in customer services. From September to the end of January, it took us roughly over 8 minutes to complete an interaction when somebody called us to request a service or report a problem. In April, that's now down to just over 4 minutes. So already we're seeing the change embedded, and it was a significant change. People were doing the same thing the same way for over 10 years, as well as the efficiencies we've done in relation to those processes, and even how the staff look at their screens and how that workflow goes about. So I'm confident that we will definitely deliver benefits in relation to process efficiency. In relation to the online services, we had planned that we thought we'd have a 50% uptake on people self-serving. It's currently sitting at 10%. I think that was probably 50% was far too optimistic. We had looked at, when we did, you'll recall, we did dog re-registration online, which at that time, the only way to re-register your dog was to come and see us, so come into a service centre and pay. Once we provided the opportunity, it's already registered and all you have to do now is pay online, we quickly saw people go and uptake that from 40% to 50%. Now, given that service requests aren't quite as simple as paying for your dog re-registration online, and the fact that we offer a 24/7 contact centre, so you can call us, email us, send us your snaps and solve, I really do think that we might be challenged to deliver on the 50%. But as I say, we are working already towards identifying those benefits and being in a position come October to say, this is what we thought we were going to deliver, and this is actually what we have managed to deliver.
We have also achieved our benefit of mitigating the risk around our old technology WorkSmart failing and having no system there in place to actually manage our service requests. So that is certainly in place now.
Okay. Can you explain the hybris issue around the data transfer?
Yes, so we have, I think, we have been capturing the data. It was just the way of extracting it out so that it was easily to be able to be reported on. And so we didn't have that in place, and we didn't have the requirements there for that during the project. And it's a complex process. It goes across a number of different other systems in Hybris, so there's about 12 different systems that are all integrated to deliver the ecosystem of request for service. So it took some time to actually set it up so that we could get the right reporting in place.
So does that
So
mean
the data itself has not been lost.
Right.
The data for the year to date is there. It was the process of making sure that we could extract that in the proper way and present it in the right way.
So will we see that in our performance exceptions reporting?
I will find out. You'll see it in your level of service reporting. So I know certainly the April reports, we didn't have it, or we just had it ready for there, and we missed the deadline for the April, but it will be there for the May level of service reporting.
Okay, any questions? Leanne?
Just in terms of the purpose of this report being a closeout report, and I guess that it's it's similar to the question Raf asked, because it doesn't feel like it's closed out. I mean, I would have thought that a report at this stage would be identifying what the gains were intended to be and what had actually happened with each one of them, rather than I mean, obviously you've got it, you've got your dog registration from 40 to 50%, but what was it before it was introduced, and what is the aim for it to be? If the service requests you want to shift to self-help, and there was a view that it was 50% uptake there potentially, and it's 10% currently. I mean, you just want to see what that looks like in the context of the other services, because you've got, as you say, Snaps and Solve 24/7 call centre. We wouldn't want those to disappear, and I wouldn't want this to become the only mechanism that was available, because that would then deny a lot of people access to reporting things. The 8 minutes to complete an interaction now down to 4 minutes. Well, 4 minutes sounds high to me, but I've got no measure and no understanding in the report. So I just feel like the report isn't what it says it is. It isn't I feel like it isn't a closeout report. It feels like a report partway through a process, an update.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take on that feedback and quite happy to return perhaps with the further detail that you require, Leanne.
Oh, I think it's the committee.
Yep, sure.
Any other questions, Yanni?
There still seems problems when you log a report, a thing that you get told it's completed, but you don't get any details like it was completed on this date. So there still seems to be a few things that just aren't working with it, and I'm not quite sure how much longer we should wait before we sort of publicise that. I know previously I've tried to meet one-on-one to give feedback. I know that there's a bidding in process before we want to advertise it too widely.
Yeah.
But I just wonder at what point do we go, yeah, it's ready to go, versus just saying, okay, we've got it and we're just going to see what happens.
Yeah, I guess it has been the change within the organisation around the processes and the way people are working has been significant and has taken time to bed in. We do have work on at the moment to look at some of the improvements around how we get that information out to citizens. So, I think it's positive that we've brought in a new system and new processes, and people are giving us feedback about how we can keep improving that, and that is common across most projects of this size. We have got a date set for June to have changes in place, so I would expect that definitely those notifications, Yanni, will be much improved by June.
And when it's ready, everything will be linked. So if you log a Snaps in Solve, you can link it to your account.
You won't be able to link a SnapSend Solve to your account. We still have, and this is a separate project, it wasn't within scope, to link up all of our different citizen information to a request for service ticket. Right. But you will be able to get your notifications through your SnapSend Solve. So we're reviewing how that works at the moment.
And notifications that make sense, because you're quite right, Yanni. You're not alone. People have been confused with the message we send them when it says it's closed, and they can go out and look out the window.
Yeah, I think the problem is we've got so many different channels now for people to contact us, but then no sort of over point where people can log in with their unique thing and go, these are all the things that I've done. Even within this system, when you try, like I've just logged in now, and you go to pay or pay your dogs, it then requires you to log in again. It doesn't just make it intuitive.
Yeah. And that is the next step for us. So we've spent time bringing in a technology system so that we can do that. The next step for us is to look at all the different bits of information that we've got about citizens, about people, and start to join that up so that we can say, right, here is Yanni's account with council. And you can see your account with your services attached to that. And within council, if you ring up, a customer service rep has one screen that says, this is Yanni, and here's all the information I know about him. That was not within scope of this project. This project was to bring in the technology. We need to follow on with additional projects to actually go, let's start linking in that information so that we can offer that one view.
I had one further question, but I just wonder whether we actually need a workshop to just kind of look at what the long-term, what we're trying to achieve, and then get a really good understanding around the cost and the different milestones, because I do find it quite frustrating, and it's a shame James is not here, because we've been raising this for nearly 12 years, and we keep thinking that something's going to happen, and it just never seems to get to the point where we think it's getting. Well, I should just speak for myself. It just seems to take so long to get to a point, and it doesn't seem to quite get where I think it should be, and yet lots of money's been spent on it. So I think a workshop.
Can I suggest, look, I've just received this draft. This is the final draft of the organisational digital strategy that is actually travelling on its way to council for a briefing. We're just trying to nail down a date. We've just got to have a couple more conversations with ELT, but bring it through. So in the past, we've had an IT strategy that's been very focused on how IT delivers the services, the unit. This is an organisational digital strategy. It was something that came out of, we already had it in train. You'll recall last year in February we brought a report through to the Audit and Risk Committee. That was an independent review of our IT governance and funding assessment, that we talked about the funding and the management approach this is a new approach to how we've delivered a new piece of technology. That putting the technology in is only one part. It's been the people, process and information that's needed to be done up front by the business and the business leading it that's been quite different. So this is all leading it. Can I suggest that it's coming pending. You'll have it's basically we're just waiting to get a date that we can schedule to come in front of you and talk through what this organisational digital strategy looks like, so we can all talk to the future of where investment's going, and then the investment roadmap underpins that.
Cool. So just a final question I had, and this again, James isn't here, but just wondering, we went through this with consenting, in terms of the people that use it, like the public, or maybe there's other people within council departments, but just how are we getting advice or feedback from the users so that it's meeting their requirements?
Yeah. So we certainly have been gathering feedback from people as they've been emailing and phoning in, but we have some planned work to actually do some further testing over the design and the screens and how they work to get some feedback from the public.
So can I just suggest we get some information related to that strategy, but we do just ensure that we have a variety of people, across ages, ethnic groups, whatever.
Sure.
Just a diversity.
Yeah, well, any system will be tested, I presume.
So this program of work or project would talk to this strategy. This strategy, we have been out and consulted with youth, with citizens. We've done a whole lot of work to bring this together around what people would expect from an organisation like us and what our digital approach would be. So that's all incorporated in here, notwithstanding that there was all the personas done for this program of work, talking to customers about what they'd like to see, how they'd like to interact with us. But it's not just about online interaction, because Mary and I are just discussing, actually not everybody wants to go digital. It has to be multi-channel, and actually there's some latest research that's coming out that's suggesting that the shift into digital is probably not going to be as big as everybody anticipated, but people still want access to it. So it's a challenge, and it's we've just got to keep moving in the right direction.
On that point, excuse me, do you talk to the corporates at all? Because if you look at, Air New Zealand, so Yanni calls up, they go, oh, this guy's Gold Elite because he's takes lots of flights with us, but calls us a lot. You have that recognition, or My Vodafone. My Vodafone, why can't we have MyCouncil? So are we talking to corporates who might be able to save us a bit of time and money in developing user systems like that?
This comes back to the golden record of customer, and we are not, there's a huge amount of work that needs to go on around identifying what records we have and how do we bring them all together so that we can actually integrate all the information. It's not about the technology, it's the integration of all the information together to have one view of a person. Mentioning before, so I'm Anne Columbus, I've got a dog, so I want to know where my dog registration is, I need an alcohol licensing for my business, I need to do, this isn't stuff that's actually simple to integrate. It takes a lot of time. We've put the foundational technology in place, and we're going to have to build on that over time. This project was helping us with some services around service requests, but there's much more to this, to MyCouncil in terms of MyCouncil program, and it will take a long time. It does.
Okay. Andrew?
Thank you. Just coming back to the comment around this feeling more like an interim report rather than a final closeout report.
Yep.
Clearly there's more work needs to be done, and October is suggested as the time that work or that further monitoring and realisation might be complete. Is it the expectation in that case that a final, what we would think of as a full closeout report, would be brought to council at that time? Is that the process that you would envisage?
Yes, if that's, I guess, we brought a part of this piece of work to you, the closeout report, which was the IT project. So this was putting in place the technology. We have streams of work at the moment going on around what we call a sustain phase to ensure that we can realise our benefits, to help with the embedding of the change, and of course there's some technical improvements as people have used the system that we're also putting in place. So it would make sense to do it at the end of that stage.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, given
Yeah.
the level of expenditure on this particular project,
Absolutely.
we as governors are very keen to see that the expected benefits are realised,
Yep.
or where there hasn't been the realisation of those benefits that we would expect, whether in fact, the expectations were in the right place in the beginning.
Yep.
Certainly looking at the commentary around business teams still adjusting to new ways of working. Was it realistic to expect that to happen maybe as quickly as was originally expected, or did more work need to be done earlier up front? How would we avoid that happening in future?
Yeah.
And the comments that were made around migration of customers to a digital platform, how realistic was that, say, 50% expectation in the beginning, or should further research have been done before we made those assumptions? They're the sort of things I'd expect to see canvassed in that future report.
Great, thank you.
Leanne?
Could I, and it's probably to Anne, but could we get the Audit and Risk Management Committee report circulated to all the councillors? Because, it's going to take ages to find it on the, the hub.
I'll do that.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, Huey.
You mentioned the strategy, those digital one strategy. Whether already have a consultation or not yet, this is only the draft.
No, this is the draft, and one of the, you'll recall, one of the recommendations that came out of the EAG's report was to involve councillors in the development of an organisational digital strategy.
Okay.
So we've been through the process of talking with everybody, getting everybody involved, and we want to come and have a kind of workshop or a briefing with councillors around what the digital strategy is all about.
But not only for council, but I would like to address this issue like Yanni mentioned earlier, because the multicultural strategy particularly emphasize the goal 2, goal 3, those the people equal opportunity to access council the information resources, etc. Goal 3 is they are equal opportunity, particular council decision-making process, consultation. So I'm not sure you need to follow the list, kind of the strategy to have a consultation with wider community group.
I think you'll find from the draft organisational strategy here, because this is setting the direction for how we need to be digital in the future, that some of the personas in it are looking exactly at that. How do we engage, or how do we enable our investment to better facilitate multicultural engagement with council and everything like that. So it's there, it's coming. Yeah.
And I do believe that certainly forming the draft, there was research done, so we used existing citizen research, so interviews, and then also a number sort of pop-up questions and answers to people on the street and outside our service centres and libraries.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? All right. Well, thanks for that. That was a good discussion. And obviously this is an ongoing piece of work. But we're very focused on it. It's very important that we get this stuff right.
It's good having your interest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Yeah, well, obviously now we know we've got that coming.
Yeah, but that is, if we wanted that overarching look, that at the whole project, that's what we need to consider.
I think this is really important. This organisation has never had a digital strategy across that. There's been IT strategies that have been very focused on
Spending
particular
money.
technology solutions, but it hasn't actually had this is what we need to do. And being digital is not actually just about the technology. It's about people having the capability. It's around having better process efficiency. So all of that work that gets done by the continuous improvement team. Remember when it took 30 steps to get a wheelie bin? It was just completely inefficient. The back end stuff. That's all really important. And then actually, technology only exists for information to flow through it. So knowing and understanding what's the important information and where it needs to go and all that is important. So it's not just about the technology solution, which is where we get incredibly focused. It's broader than that. It's a change. It's a business change.
But is there something sitting within our our family of companies that could also be of assistance? I think of the way that you can sign up for electricity companies and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just wondering if there is I mean, not necessarily reaching out to the private sector, but even reaching out to our own companies, and of course our library services are all very focused in the digital world.
So all our library services are enabled through our IT unit digitally and doing all that sort of thing. So I think we are...
I think
we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Why don't we
I'll
wait
talk
till we
to you
get
about
this
exploring
strategy
that.
and then
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
have that
So
conversation.
are we going to note that here, that we will be...
Sorry, it's the organisational digital strategy. I'm happy to call it a digital workshop or a briefing.
Yeah, workshop on the organisational digital strategy.
Just suggest the point that the Mayor made, which I think is excellent, is we've got Orion, Enable, Christchurch NZ and our community boards, and they all would be, I think, really valuable sources of input into that. So, I mean, we've got some amazing expertise within the council family and some great ways to get feedback. So I don't know how that can work through the workshop or through this digital strategy, but I just think it would be such a shame not to utilise those.
We'll request a workshop, and I mean, I think the
Workshop is better.
chair and the deputy chair could work out who should be there.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Right, would you like to move that, Mayor?
Yep.
Moved the Mayor, seconded the Deputy Mayor. Any debate? Put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against. That's carried. Thank you very